today we are visiting one of our current projects. It's a 7,500 square foot renovation. The clients previously built this house about 28 years ago and are ready for a complete updating of the home. And so when we look at renovations, we really try to look at our processes for new construction, and a lot of those processes are very similar, whether it's a renovation or whether it's new construction. For us, everything starts with our control lines. As you can see down here, we've got a nice line that is snapped in red chalk, and then we spray paint clear over it so it lasts the duration of the project. This line is established by spending many hours reviewing the existing construction, looking at the exterior walls, the interior walls, and finding where all the variances are in the building. Once we've established what our parameters are, we're able to snap a control line, and typically we start with the center of the front door. As you can see, this one runs from the center of the front door all the way out through the living room to the back lanai. Once this line is set, we bring a perpendicular line off of it, and we typically like to look for a hallway or the longest portion of the home that we can run that line through. So you can see we have another nice blue line running through here. These lines are paramount, as every single interior wall, every ceiling light fixture, every air conditioning vent, basically everything that we do starts with these lines here. These control lines are extremely important because they offer us some great insight into how the original home was constructed. We're able to find out if the original slab is square, if the interior walls are square, the exterior walls are square. And it's very important, especially at the end of the project, when you take a look down a long, nice hallway like this, and we're going to have a nice wood floor going through here. Nobody wants to see a unparalleled joint in their wood floor. They want to see from this wall down here to this wall here that the joint in the wood floor is nice and parallel and not crooked. And so this is the foundation from which we start. So using our control lines, we begin to start laying out our interior walls. All of our interior walls, the dimensions for them are parallel off of our control line. So we take a look at the plans, we understand what our dimensions are, and we ensure that the control line is the basis, is the foundation for everything we do. So looking at this wall here, we have a nice feature wall. This is going to be for a formal living room area. There's going to be a nice electric fireplace with TV wall with some nice stone and a nice wood detail around the TV. If we take our measurement from our control line to the wall here, we'll find that it's parallel, and that's realistically, that is the way that we ensure that everything stays uniform throughout the project, the way that we can control everything. The great thing of it is, using our control lines, as you can see, we also use our control lines to balance out our recessed lighting, our audio, video, the speakers, any interior cameras or HVAC registers. Everything that goes in the ceiling is laid out on the floor. And what we're able to do is we're able to maximize our efficiency by making sure that everything is nice and square, parallel off of our control lines. We're able to understand the relationship between how far our lights are apart, where our lights are in conjunction with our speakers, our HVAC registers, and being able to use the floor to lay all those items out gives us a lot more accuracy. We're able to really understand those things, and helps our clients understand those things as well. And once everything is laid out on the floor, we use a plumb laser to transfer the centers of speakers, the center of ceiling lights up to the ceiling, so that our electricians, so that our HVAC contractors and our audio video contractors know exactly where to place those items. We spoke earlier about our control lines and how they play a significant role in making sure that all of our interior walls stay nice and square throughout the house. Everything stays nice and parallel, and everything's going to line up with your floor finishes after. So after our control lines are laid down and we've utilized those to lay out our walls, to lay out our recessed ceiling lights and everything that's going to the ceiling, we start working our way up vertically. And as you can see here, we've got a nice row of blocking in between the walls here. Now this is what what's called mid-span blocking. And typically it's a great practice to be installing mid-span blocking on any walls 10 foot or greater. Now, we typically install them on every single wall, regardless if it's 10 foot high or not. You know, if we're dealing with 8 foot high walls, it offers a lot of rigidity to the wall, but furthermore, it also pulls double duty for us. We always set this block at what would be 5 foot above finished floor. So we understand what our client's going to be installing for the flooring. In this particular case, it's a 3/4 inch wood flooring. So we understand that the blocking that we're going to put in is going to be actually 5 foot and 3/4 above the slab, so that all of our electricians, our plumbers, everybody that's utilizing this benchmark elevation throughout the house understands where the finished floor elevation is going to be. And so this blocking goes in. We use a laser, as you can see, it's on the wall here. It is broadcasting a perfectly level horizontal line throughout the house, so we make sure that we have the same exact elevation from this side of the house as we have from that side of the house. And we really utilize this line in a lot of different ways. The first way we utilize it is we understand that our switching, our outlets are all going to be a standard height, and we want to make sure that specifically in a renovation project where we do have some undulations throughout the slab, that we're going to finish out our baseboards, our switches, our outlets, everything's going to end up at the same elevation throughout the house, so that when you're looking down a wall, you're not seeing you know, one outlet might be an inch higher than another. Everybody's pulling off of this. So if we have a switch that needs to be 42 inches above the ground, and everybody knows that we have 60 inches here, our electricians know that they're going to pull 18 inches down from the top of those blocks for every single one of their switches, and they're not using an uneven slab to set the dimension for all of their outlet boxes and their switch boxes. So we have kind of really adopted the new technology, the latest technology in tools and devices to help us build to the highest degree of accuracy. As I previously mentioned before, we complete our layout for our recessed lighting, all of our HVAC vents, the registers and the returns. We lay all those items out on the floor, so we make sure that they are in line with our recessed lights. And so when somebody comes in the room, you know, not many people are looking up at the ceiling, looking at items that look out of place, except for builders. We look at these things all the time. But what you won't do in one of our projects is look up and say, why did they put that there? Because extreme thought and extreme detail has been put into understanding how we lay these items out. One of the tools we use, this is a plumb laser. It operates as a square laser as well, so that we can transfer lines in a 90-degree fashion. Here we've got the layout for a recessed light on the ground here, and it places a nice plumb dot perfectly right in the ceiling where our can light's going to go. And in this particular project, we're using what's called a lotus light, or it's an LED light that really operates without the use of a can housing. It's kind of newer technology, and it's a great item for us. We like using those a lot. So you can see here we've got our layout on the ground. It's transferring a mark immediately above. These layout marks on the ground stay after drywall. Once the drywall is completed, we provide a laser to our electrician. He puts the laser right on the dot where we've laid out for him on the ground. We come back in with a hole saw. We cut our hole out for the can light, place our fixture in, and everything is laid out perfectly. Nice symmetry, and it's the best way to do it. So using our benchmark elevation, we've got two lasers. We've got a rotating laser here spinning, and we've got our other vertical or horizontal line laser here. We're really trying to look at what the ceiling's doing in these homes. And as you can see in these ceilings, we've got 1x4 pressure treated strips running on the underside of what's floor trusses here, and some roof trusses on the other side of the house. Now, what these things are doing are really, they've got three benefits to us here. Now, this is not a common practice in construction, but it's a practice that we utilize in all of our projects. So the first benefit to using this is typically your roof trusses, your floor trusses are set 24 inches on center. We're placing these furring strips at 16 inches on center. What that allows us to do is that allows us to get our drywall fastened at 16 inches on center as opposed to 24 inches on center to resist any kind of sagging in the drywall ceilings over the years. The second thing it does for us is it allows us to really get perfect, nice level ceilings. Utilizing this laser here, we can take a look and we can measure the distance from the underside of this floor truss here where we've got our furring. And so we've got our horizontal line laser here, and we've got 55 and right between 1/16 and 1/8 of an inch. And utilizing these lasers, we're able to perfectly level out a ceiling. So if we go to the other side of the room over here and we hold our tape measure up here and we measure, we're right between 55 and 1/16 and 55 and 1/8. So we are perfectly level within a 64th of an inch over 20 feet on the ceiling. And that is phenomenal. What that allows us to do is it allows us to allows our drywall finishers to work a lot more efficiently because they are not fighting ceilings that are out of level, and it really ends up with a nice, clean, smooth finish. When it's all done and you have the lights that are coming in through these beautiful windows, we've got these nice bay views here, you're able to see those deficiencies inside of a ceiling when they're not that way. And if you look up in the ceiling here, you can see just how much shimming has been done in certain areas. In this particular area, we've got about a 1/4 inch shim. As we look down the road, or down the way over here, we've got almost an inch of shimming here. So you can see just how great these lasers are in helping us to build at the highest degree of accuracy. The last thing that the ceiling furring does for us is, we spoke earlier about the Lotus style lights that we're using. Now those Lotus lights are about an inch thick. And so when you have 5/8 inch of a drywall and we've got an additional 3/4 of an inch of ceiling furring, it allows us to put a Lotus light directly below a floor truss, whereas a traditional recessed ceiling light comes in a can housing that's about a 6 inch or 4 inch can, but realistically the whole fixture is about 10 inches by 10 inches, and it recesses up inside the ceiling. And when you have a truss in the way, it really limits your layout options, and you're really confined by how you're able to lay out your ceiling lights based on where the trusses are. So using the Lotus style lights and the ceiling furring, we're able to get a perfectly level ceiling. We're able to reduce the fastening distance on our drywall fasteners from 24 inches to 16 inches, and it's also allowing us to put a ceiling light wherever we want to get a nice symmetrical layout design and a perfectly smooth ceiling when it's all said and done. Another great material choice that we love to use on our projects when the budget allows us to is a product called Timber Strand. And you can see it being used here in this fireplace framing here. What these studs are, these studs, with the difference between these studs and a typical spruce pine fir stud or a southern yellow pine stud is it's what's called an LSL, which is a laminated strand lumber. It is a engineered product that is compressed in the factory, and what they are producing is they're producing a perfectly stable stud dimensionally. And what that allows us to do is, when the lumber is being delivered from the lumber yard, our carpenters are not having to go through and pick through to find studs that are straight, studs that are not bowed, because every single stud that comes off the truck is perfectly straight. So we're really minimizing the amount of culling or sorting through material to find the nice straight stud. But also what it allows us to do is, it allows us to get perfectly straight walls. So our drywallers really enjoy it. When you're looking down a long section of wall after it's all been drywalled, you're not seeing any undulations, you're not seeing any shadow lines in the drywall, because the studs are perfectly straight. Not only that, but you can see it's got the ZB here, which is zinc borate, so it's got a chemical treatment to it which prevents termites or other wood destroying organisms from eating it. So whenever the budget allows, whenever we're able to use this product, we really strongly recommend it. When dealing with sliding glass door tracks, we have really started to understand the timing and the process and how these things need to be installed. The issue with them is they need to be installed early in the process. The problem with that is the grooves in the sill often are stepped on by trades, get filled with stucco, get filled with dust and debris or drywall mud, and ultimately we end up with a lot of issues there. So to combat that, one of the processes that we've implemented here is complete protection of the sliding glass door frame. As you can see here, we've got a nice plywood covering over top of the frame to protect that. Below that, that, we have styrofoam that has been cut individually, set inside those grooves in the track. Also on the outside and the inside of the sill riser, an additional piece of styrofoam directly below the plywood, and then the entire thing is wrapped in a cling wrap. What that does is it's cushioning and protecting the nice metal frame. It's keeping dust and debris out of there while offering a nice rigid surface over top where if somebody steps on it, we're not damaging the project. Once the drywall is completed, we'll come back in with our sliding glass door slabs. We'll install those, and we'll have a nice clean sill when it's all said and done. And you can also see that we've taped all the metal frames to protect. We've got insulation starting next week. We've got drywall starting next week. So we're really protecting the frames here, keeping everything nice and clean to give the clients a nice, clean product that's free of defects once the project is ready for completion.